welcome to the stage Chief Financial Officer, Microsoft UK, Jas Brar.
Good afternoon, everyone. Right, I need your help to get this part started. So I would like everybody to close their eyes for a moment with me, and I will be watching. So if you just bear with me, close your eyes. Thank you. And I want you to imagine your own business and think about all of the different functions and teams, divisions across your business which encompass all of those processes. So whether it be HR, sales, marketing, the best and my personal favorite, finance. And just think about if AI understood your business, what would that look like to you? And imagine if AI could also drive unprecedented efficiency and innovation. What would that look like? Thank you. You can now open your eyes. So today, I really believe we're on the edge of such a revolution, and I'm thrilled to kick off this session, which will focus on our vision for AI and how that can transform your organization. We will explore the benefits of AI with real-life customer stories which span operational cost reductions, how to drive thousands of hours time saved, and the intent is really to give you guys insights into how AI can streamline your processes, can drive better customer experiences, and ultimately drive business outcomes to your desires. So some of you guys might ask, why is this so important now? And being in my role, I really believe all of us have a real sort of, have to be invested in what we're trying to do as a country. We have a new government who have mandated that economic growth is their top priority, and all of us have a responsibility in that. And so how do we drive economic growth? We effectively try to increase the output per person. And if you think about that, that's effectively what we call productivity. So imagine what AI could do to ignite that productivity. So with 16 years of experience at Microsoft and 21 years as a finance professional, I have seen firsthand the transformative power of technology. However, what I would say is you have to couple it with refined processes each time and skilled people. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our Corporate Vice President for Business and Industry Copilot. He leads the design and product development and engineering teams responsible for creating intelligent business applications and low-code platforms with generative AI. Welcome, Charles Lamanna.
Huge thank you to everybody for joining in person. I'm really excited to cover a whole bunch of exciting content. In particular, I'm going to cover a few of the frameworks that we use with our customers and even internally at Microsoft for our own processes to apply AI in a way that produces real business outcomes. Like Joss talked about, this whole idea of technology really only provides benefit if you can map it to your business processes and the things you care about most. And I'm also going to talk about a platform, something called the Power Platform at Microsoft, which is really key to help all of our customers enable and unlock all of this real value. Now, if we look at the three main ways that I think about AI transformation for our customers, there's really kind of a few different ways to approach it. The first is this idea of personal productivity. How do you make every single employee more efficient and more capable each and every day? This was the same revolution that personal computing or the internet provided to office workers. It's all about understanding data, making decisions, collaborating better together. And a lot of the Microsoft 365 Copilot value that you've heard and seen over the last 18 months is about this personal productivity element. The second big item is how do you go do process improvement? And this is back office, front office, kind of R&D, product development, field work. How can you use AI to change the process that you run each and every day to drive more growth and reduce costs? And the third item is really this idea of how do you transform the products and services that you provide to your customers with AI. And for Microsoft, that's of course putting AI in our products, but for a retailer, it may be a new e-commerce experience, or if you're a manufacturer, it could be more intelligence in the devices that you ship and deliver. So all three of these are critical. And if you look at kind of how you should approach this and how you should optimize across all three vectors, and it pains me to say this, but you got to start from the business outcome first and the technology second. It's much more important to understand what you're trying to achieve and what you want to drive than it is to go look for the right tool chain and the piece of tech. And as an engineer, that always breaks my heart a little bit, but this is what is the most consistent trait that I see when I work with customers when they go apply AI for real benefit over the last couple of years. And if we kind of drill into this a little bit further and really focus on the middle one here, this idea of how do you go drive process improvement, we're going to keep coming back to this idea. All about taking that process and improving it and optimizing it and getting the outcome that you want, but doing that only after you identify the business outcome you actually want. Because you can't really achieve something if you can't imagine or identify what that even would be on the other side of applying technology. So the first step, the first part of that framework is go identify the process you want to optimize. And that's different for every company, because what matters most to you may matter less to somebody else. And this should be defined by what area is most relevant to your differentiation as an offering and organization, and what metrics you care about driving and improving over time. Because you're not going to be able to, say, spread all your energy across all parts of your company at once. You want focus on what matters most. So identify the processes that you want to go drive improvement for. Then run a process that looks a little bit like this. Before you even talk about the technology or AI, first ask, is this a process that should even exist? I work with so many customers who automate something like an approval process for contracting or sales discounting, and then it turns out that the automation just approves it 99.99% of the time. That's what's happening. Why even have the process in the first place? Just remove it, simplify it. Then if the process does need to stick around, then you can go see what parts could be removed or what parts could be reduced to the most important elements so it's not as complex or robust. And then once you've done that, you've really narrowed down the process to the elements that matter most, the parts that you need to carry forward. And then that's where you start to apply AI, you start to apply automation. And the reason this progression is critical is you can spend a lot of calories and a lot of energy and a lot of money chasing AI or automation on things that just shouldn't exist. And that's kind of the funnel that you should approach for each of those processes that matter to get the business outcomes or the business value that you want. And this may seem like something you get to do once and then forget. Unfortunately, it is not that easy. You kind of live in this world of continuous improvement. So you identify the process, you strip away all the unnecessary elements, you apply AI automation, you measure the impact, you see an impact, and good news, you get to repeat the whole thing over and over again. And this idea of continuous improvement has been around for 40, 50 years when it comes to manufacturing, like this idea of lean manufacturing or Kaizen. The same type of approach is now coming to office work, to knowledge work, the high-end R&D work. And this idea of really improving the process year after year after year is key. And then when we talk to a lot of customers, they're always asking, how do I create the investment case for additional AI or automation? It always goes back to this. How can you improve a process to drive more growth or reduce cost? And if you go do this, and you identify some processes that matter, and you run continuous improvement, the reality is there are a lot of processes out there that probably could and need to be optimized to improve the operations of the company. In fact, the number is so large, IDC predicts it's 1 billion new digital solutions need to be built in the next 4 years, by 2028, to go address the need. So there's a lot of process that needs to be improved. And if we look at how you're going to be able to do this in this world of AI, it's not going to be the same way that we did the last 20 years. We're going to have to approach it differently. I mean, so much magic has come to life with generative AI, large language models, GPT-4o, all of that. We can't go back to the same tools and, say, waterfall or agile planning that we've done in the past to go build out all the solutions that take advantage of this technology. And the way that we view it at Microsoft, something we think is really important to make it come to life, is this idea of it being a team sport. And what does that mean? In a good football or soccer team, you don't just have like a goalie, you have all kinds of positions throughout the field. It's the same idea where you want IT, you want coders, and you want business users, people in the finance department, in the sales department, in the marketing department, to be able to participate and give back. And that is how you can actually tackle that 1 billion digital solutions, to tackle all of these processes in any kind of reasonable time frame. And to help do development as a team sport, at Microsoft, we have something called the Power Platform. It includes Power BI for analytics and data insights, Power Apps to create web and mobile applications, Power Automate for workflow or robotic process automation, or Copilot Studio to extend Copilot and create agents like Satya talked about earlier, or Power Pages to go create websites. All of these offerings are accessible to all parts of the company. Whether you're a coder or you sit in the business, you're able to use this to go improve the processes. So a single team or single person may be chasing only a handful of processes they want to optimize, but then when you divide and conquer across the entire company, you can have 1,000 projects running in parallel, with the majority of them not even centralized or tracked in one place. So if we drill into the Power Platform a little bit for folks that aren't as familiar, a key part is this idea of no-code development. This means that business users, so people who could otherwise use PowerPoint to assemble a presentation through dragging and dropping and clicks, they'd be able to build apps or analyze data or automate tasks with the Power Platform. Or low-code, where you can go sprinkle in expressions and additional logic, basically what you would do inside of an Excel workbook. And this is more accessible to IT professionals or IT admins who maybe don't write code every day, don't deploy things like Kubernetes clusters, but are able to very easily take advantage of Power Platform to develop these solutions, all the way to professional developers who want to write code with the Power Platform. So all of this, from no code to low code to pro code, is possible in the Power Platform. From analyzing your data, to building your applications, to automating tasks, to creating AI agents, and more. And all of this is easy to integrate and connect to all the existing systems that you have. So a core part of the Power Platform is that it has over 1,500 connectors built in. Whether it's Salesforce, ServiceNow, SAP, Snowflake, Oracle, if you name it, it can probably connect to it. And this is really important because process optimization can't wait until you re-platform or modernize your ERP or your CRM or your mainframe. It has to happen now in and around with your existing systems. Otherwise, it'll be 5 to 10 years until you can really make progress on this AI transformation. So these data connectors make it possible so you can take the Power Platform and apply it to what you already have in your ecosystem without having to go do a whole bunch of replatforming and rework. And all of this has made the Power Platform the most adopted low-code platform in the world, with 48 million monthly active users and 97% of the Fortune 500 using it. This tool chain is how you can go tackle and drive innovation with AI throughout the entire organization. Now, one of the big things about Power Platform, it's been out there for a few years, it's changing though, is Copilot, of course. Because we talk about these things like no code and low code, which in the past were highly graphical, like Excel or PowerPoint. But now how you build stuff with Copilot is going to look a little bit different. Because just like how you can use Copilot to generate an email or analyze in a spreadsheet or go summarize a Teams meeting, you can also use Copilot to help you go create these amazing solutions in the Power Platform. And the things you create will also look different. Like Satya talked about with Copilot Studio, you can create these new autonomous agents. That will be something available in the low-code, no-code environment. Even AI agents don't require a heavy professional developer investment, but it's something that can be accessible to everybody in the organization. So Copilot is really changing how and what you build inside the Power Platform. And for this, one of the things I really like to hear and see is how our customers are using Copilot and Power Platform to do some incredible things. So I just have a short video where we'll hear from a few real-world examples of Copilot and Power Platform.
We decided to utilize Copilot in order to create a Friendly John.
So we use Friendly John, our AI system, to follow up with customers.
Right now, Friendly John can handle around 60% of customer questions, and on our next release, we'll be going up to 90%.
With our platform and Copilot Studio, we can innovate and implement anything we want.
It was a game changer.
As a startup, we have to adapt to the changes of the feedback of customers very frequently. Almost like 80 to 90% of what we have is in Power Platform.
We went from flu vaccine to COVID vaccine to providing an entire set of medical services for pharmacies. There's no way in any other platform you could, adapt at such speed.
With Copilot coming to Power Automate, people can build so much more quickly. Something that would have taken a week is taking a day. Something that would have taken a day is taking 5 minutes. So it's really exciting to see on the maker side. I think the Power Platform is going to be pivotal in the future of AI at Accenture.
Here at Cineplex, I think the culture of automation has definitely taken over, using all these different automation tools, Power Platform tools. And what that's been able to do is generate over 30,000 hours saved annually. It's bright, it's exciting, and I think there's going to be a lot more of it to come.
So just kind of a few quick sizzle hits about how Copilot starts to show up. And this idea of Copilot transforming how you build and what you build, it's really like the exclamation point on that idea that everybody in the company needs to contribute and participate in the creation of these solutions, whether it's an agent, an app, or a dashboard. And to really kind of drill into it and bring a little bit more to life, we're going to look at Power Apps for a bit. And what Power Apps has done is, historically, it was very much built like you drag and drop controls and you wire up controls to data sources. So the canonical studio experience for creating applications. And the analogy I would always make is it's like PowerPoint and Excel had a baby. It brings those elements together to create the solution. But Copilot's taking that to the next level because we're getting to a world where you can describe the problem that you want to have solved, describe the security model you want for your application, describe the data model you want for your application, and workflows and schema, and how it all relates. And Copilot will be able to help assemble that for you in real time. It's as if you have a team of developers at your fingertips that you can just reach out to using natural language, images, and more. And this is going to make the cost of building an application much lower, which probably means there's going to be a lot more applications out there. So to see some of this in action, we have a full end-to-end demo from State Farm where they've used Power Apps and this new plan designer to create an incredible application to help with tracking and managing training for all of their employees around the world. And State Farm has a huge presence, tens and tens of thousands of employees, very geo-distributed in a highly regulated industry like insurance, but they're able to get their solution built in Power Apps. So let's see kind of that whole thing being built with a live demo.
Today we're going to take a real quick tour through a brand new Copilot-centric workspace in Power Apps that we refer to as the Plan Designer. We're going to do that by building a full solution for training management for one of our great Power Platform customers, State Farm. And we're going to start right here just by describing that problem in natural language in this text box. Now, of course, nobody's going to build a full solution just based on a sentence or two. And in this case, we can bring data we use today, or a plan diagram we have today, or even a legacy application screenshot, you name it. We can add a whole bunch of things into this input. And here's what Copilot is going to do. It's not going to rush off and start building software. It's going to start thinking through the problem. Specifically, it's going to start identifying who are the users and what types of requirements would they have in this scenario. It's going to say, hey, I think in this training scenario, you have an insurance rep, you have a training coordinator, you have a compliance officer, and here are exactly the things that they need to accomplish. And of course, all of that is editable and iteratable as a starting point. I can give Copilot feedback here. I can say, also send me a notification when the training is past due. And Copilot will take that input and iterate on it and update the plan. So the next phase is we'll take those user stories collaborated on with Copilot and pass them off to a data modeling agent to go think through a relational data model in Microsoft Dataverse. And sure enough, the data model agent is going to suggest multiple tables here. And not just the names of those tables. In fact, we can drill in and see it's suggested a relational data model about how all these things interact with each other. And we can even go see the columns on each table it's generated and the relationships with other tables and the sample data it's put in here to help a human kind of wrap their heads around this whole scenario. Okay, given those user stories and given this data model, now let's have a solution architecture agent suggest the components of a software solution to address these requirements. And sure enough, that's exactly what it's going to do. It's suggesting multiple different types of Power Apps here. We should have an app for employees to register for trainings using a subset of that data model. We should have back office apps for the training coordinators and compliance managers. And we should also have a set of automations here. It's proposing, notifications and reminders. Again, all of this iteratable. I can add a suggestion here. Let's say we want something to make sure a district manager gets a report for their teams. And again, that solution architecture agent will continue to think through the problem in the context of the data model, in the context of the user stories, and continually update the plan. Now, the other thing that's great about this is it isn't just a plan. And that means that I can quickly generate these entire running applications. Let's take that training coordinator app and say, great, let's go build that one. And in here, just a few seconds, we can take all that data that we've modeled and the sample data we've generated, put it into the mature Dataverse service in the cloud, and just declaratively generate a Power App on top. And so this for us represents a full end-to-end, starting with a business problem, generating the user stories and personas, the data model, the artifacts. We think this has huge potential for really rapidly driving application modernization and the transition to an agent-based future. But thanks for the first look, and we'll keep you posted on where it goes.
And that starts to show kind of how you can very rapidly iterate to build out those applications. And that was a recording from a conference or an event we did a couple weeks ago, it kind of running in action. And these types of rapid authoring environments allow you to go tackle a lot of those processes I talked about earlier that you've identified and want to keep improving. So as an example, at HSBC, they were able to save 117,000 hours using the Power Platform, and were able to drive a 50% cost savings in several different markets in just a very short period of time. So real business impact. And you can only know this type of impact if you start by identifying the processes, the business outcome you want, and then building the solutions on top of it. Or at Centrica, where they have over 800 different solutions built with the Power Platform and have driven $4 million of annual savings. So this idea of large volume, targeted processes, driving real benefit, real measurable impact is critical to how you can get the most out of all of this technology. And kind of if we go back to where we started, this idea that you start from the business outcome you want, not from the technology to use, is go identify the process you want to tackle and empower the right set of people to go tackle them, to go drive the outcomes we want. Now, if we kind of go look a little bit more into how you build changing as a result of Copilot and all these capabilities, I'm going to look a little bit more at Power Automate. So Power Automate is the world's leading robotic process automation platform. It also supports creating what we call cloud flows or cloud-based automations over APIs. It's a great way to take a process and automate it fully end to end. And a couple years ago, we announced the ability where you could build an automation with Copilot, where you would write in natural language, and it would help generate the automation for you. And this experience is very much like a classical chat experience. So just like you chat with Copilot, say to look up emails or documents inside of Microsoft 365 Copilot, you can do the same thing and go create these automations. But one of the most exciting things, in my opinion, for all of the new Gen AI models is the fact that they are multimodal. They're not just text-based. You're able to start to listen to audio and video and other forms of communication to create amazing solutions. So when you interact with Copilot, you don't just type, you also can start to talk or provide examples or share your screen. And I'm going to show a demo in a second around robotic process automation, but I always just like to do a little teaser because RPA is kind of one of those like esoteric things which everybody uses, but sometimes it's squirreled away in a closet somewhere. So RPA stands for Robotic Process Automation, has nothing to do with robots, for folks that have worked on it for a while know this. And what it does is it simulates keyboard inputs, mouse clicks, basically like a super macro to drive UI automation over primarily Windows applications. And what this allows people to do is, we're in places where you don't have an API or where you don't have an easy-to-use integration point, you can use RPA to very, very quickly build basically an automation the same way a person would use the application. So what we've been doing, what we've been working on, what we announced, is this idea of Record with Copilot. So right from inside of Power Automate Desktop, you can use Record with Copilot to explain verbally what you're doing to Copilot, to share your screen with Copilot so it can see what you see. And it can also track when you click and when you type and when you do any kind of interaction with the PC. We then capture all of this information across all these different modes of communication and generate an RPA from it. And this RPA is incredibly easy to build and actually incredibly robust and resilient because it understands the actual reasoning and thought process that went behind running the process. So I'm going to play a short demo video which shows kind of all of this coming to life, where you're able to automate a series of processes over Excel and a website using Record with Copilot and Power Automate. So let's check it out.
With Power Automate, the bank can build an automation for this manual process. But they're not going to be doing it the same way they've been doing so in the past. They're going to be using the new and exciting ability to record with Copilot, with which they can build RPA automations by simply showing and telling. Okay, let me show you. Now coming up, I'll be sharing my screen and speaking to Copilot. And Copilot will be listening. Now this is not just for show. This is real time. Okay, let's do it. First, I navigate to my Edge browser. Then I navigate to this site, and I click on this Excel button to download the most recent survey. Once it's downloaded, I open the file in Excel. Next, I navigate to this internal site. I click on Surveys, and then I upload new survey data. And now I want to copy over all the data from this Excel file into this tool. I want to copy over the data row by row, and after each row, I click Submit. And that's it. Now, the recording is being analyzed. But let me tell you what's actually happening behind the scenes. We're leveraging GPT-4o to convert this recording into an automation. And there are 3 essential components to do this. The first, the video recording. The video recording will be used by the model to understand what I want the automation to do. Next, the voice instructions. As you can see, as I was speaking, my voice was being transcribed, and this transcription would be used by the model to provide the logic such as loops and conditionals in the flow. And then finally, the UI elements. Copilot actually understands the structure of my screen, the structure of the applications I'm using, so that the flow can refer to specific UI elements such as the form fields in this site. Okay, this analysis may take just a few minutes, but let's have a look at what a flow built by Copilot would look like. Isn't this incredible? From just a recording, Copilot built this suggested flow. And I'd like to highlight two things that Copilot did very well. You can see here that Copilot automatically identified that I'd need a for loop in this automation because I described that I wanted to copy over the data from Excel row by row. If we also look here, we can see that Copilot accurately mapped the columns from the Excel spreadsheet to the fields in the form in the internal analytics tool. Isn't this awesome? The moment of truth. Let's see how this automation performs. Let's give it a run. The automation is now running, and I'm stepping out from behind the computer. My hands are in the air so you can see that I'm clearly not controlling anything, and the automation is performing exactly as demonstrated. This allows the bank to process customer feedback much faster.
So you can start to see how Copilot changes just the way you interact with a computer. So you can describe or speak or share your screen just like you would with a coworker. And we think this is going to dramatically expand the set of scenarios that can be automated or could have applications built on top of them. Companies like Cineplex, who already have over 1,700 automations built out, and they've already been able to save over 30,000 hours each year because of all of these different automation solutions. And this idea of you're going to have big, heavy-duty projects which have big impact, but you're also going to have a lot of smaller projects which have small impact, but if you push them out into the business so people are empowered to create them, add up to big numbers. And to put this all into perspective, at Microsoft, we of course internally use Power Platform for many of our own efforts, and despite the fact that we have over 100,000 software engineers on staff, we still start with Power Apps for our internal applications, and we have over 260,000 Power Apps. That's more than one app per employee, and over 650,000 Power Automate workflows, so more than 3 automations per employee. So very broad reach and broad solutions that can be built out. Now, for the last little bit, we're going to talk a little bit more about what you create and what you build. And of course, earlier today, a lot of talk and discussion around Copilot Studio, to easily extend Microsoft Copilot to create your own agents. And these experiences can be embedded inside of Microsoft 365 Copilot or embedded in your mobile applications or your own websites. So you can go where users spend their most time. So you can have the most impact for all the AI value that you create. And already over 50,000 organizations have used Copilot Studio to go create their own custom chat experiences or agents or extend Microsoft 365 Copilot. And one of my favorite ones out there is one from Virgin Money, where they've built a conversational experience for their customers. And they've done an excellent job sprinkling in their own tone and their own style of conversation to this chat experience. And I think the example they give is it's the only chat experience that's going to allow you to tell a joke or answer jokes for any bank out there. And that matches what their brand is all about. And that's kind of the idea of you don't want just the off-the-shelf AI model. You just don't want the off-the-shelf experience. You want one that matches what your business cares about. And so I've talked a lot about how easy it is to create these things, how many of these things are going to have. You heard companies with thousands or tens of thousands of solutions. So the first question I always get when people see that is, how the heck am I going to protect and secure and manage all of these things being created? If you have 1 million apps and 1 million automations and 1 million AI agents in your enterprise, how can you make sure that you're not leaking data or you don't have any governance problems? Well, the Power Platform has built-in controls across 4 major pillars around data protection, compliance, the ability to have visibility and reporting and auditability to everything, and then built-in safety for all the solutions that you create. That way you can know that whatever you build in the Power Platform sits inside of your Entra ID tenant, supports things like lockbox and customer managed keys to encrypt and protect your data, uses OAuth and on behalf of authentication, so it always is using an individual's identity when it connects to remote systems through Copilot, and on and on. Tried and tested platform to empower everybody in the company to participate in the development of these amazing solutions without compromising on security, trust, privacy, and governance, and everything else that you need to be a modern company these days. So a ton of value out there, a ton of abilities to create amazing solutions in the Power Platform. So my time is coming to an end, so I just want to say 3 things. First, the time is now. As you've probably heard and seen in the customer examples today, this is becoming table stakes to be competitive. If you don't have a strategy to make progress with AI and start improving processes, it's going to be hard to be efficient and differentiated in the modern economy. Second, when you go look at how you get started, it's not one team. It's not a center of excellence of AI alone, or this one team of experts to do process engineering. You need to enlist the entire company. You need to have everybody from business users to developers and coders working together to create these solutions. And the third piece is that it all starts with the business case, the business value. What are you trying to achieve? If it's a big, heavy-duty project, that's something that's probably defined in a very standard process map and time and motion studies. If it's something done in the business, somebody knows what they do every day, and they can probably easily identify opportunities to improve that. So those are the 3 thoughts I want to leave you with, and a huge thank you to everybody that's come in to the session, and I hope and look forward to hear from all of you as you get started with our agents and AI capabilities. Have a good one.